he repeated sadly. I wondered if the lady was his wife. I guessed she was dead now. I went all hot and embarrassed, terrified that he might start talking about her or crying or something. I leaned against the books, trying to think of something to say. Hey, watch those spines, he said in a very different sort of voice. Oh, sorry. I stopped lounging. One should always treat books with respect, he said, still stern. I know, I said. I've got a book like that, an antiquarian book. It's called 50 Favourite Fairy Tales. My mother bought it for me, and it's got masses of colour plates, and I remembered what had happened to it. And, said the brigadier. I looked down at my feet. Nothing, I mumbled. Fairy stories, eh? I said, wishing I'd kept my mouth shut. What was I going to do if he asked to see it? Were there any fairy godfathers in this fairy storybook of yours? He asked. I stared at him. Not that I can think of. Fairy godmothers. But you don't get godfathers, not fairy ones. Don't you? Said the brigadier. He opened a drawer of his desk and took out a book. An old blue leather book. I looked at the gold lettering. 50 Favourite Fairy Tales. My book. But it wasn't ripped to pieces. The binding was perfect. It was as good as new. The brigadier held it out to me, smiling. I took the book, my hands trembling. Is it mine? But it can't be. It's not torn anymore. How did it happen? Magic. I wasn't that daft. I looked very carefully at the spine. The leather was the same colour as the front and the back, but it was softer and more supple, and when I peered right up close, I could see tiny join lines, where someone had patiently matched the torn old leather with the new. You mended it for me, I said. Mrs. Markham brought it straight to me. Orange overall, purple pinafore, dotty dress. She told me the awful facts of the case, and I decided to help as best I could. These awful facts, I said worriedly. Does she know who spoiled my book? The brigadier made an arch of his fingers and rested his chin on it. I wouldn't inquire further if I were you. Just be thankful that the book is very nearly back to rights. Oh, I am thankful. I'm ever so thankful, I said, beaming at him. So how about doing something for me in return? Said the brigadier. I looked at him. Those swimming lessons, I said dolefully. That's my goal. I sighed. Cheer up. Not as bad as all that. And there are all the other activities too. I wrinkled my nose. I didn't mean him to see, but his eyes were too sharp. Don't you think much of them either? I don't like judo. Or macrame. What do you like? There was another pause. I like making up stories, I eventually decided. He stared at his desk thoughtfully. He stared at the National Geographic magazines. What about you starting up your own magazine while you're here? An evergreen magazine with you as the editor. Does the idea appeal? It did. Very much indeed. Chapter 11. I sat cross-legged on my bed in the emerald dawning, doodling with my new felt tips on a pad of rough paper. It was Marzipan's pad, actually, but I was sure she wouldn't mind. I wrote my name in bright pink and outlined it in magenta. It looked very stylish. I tried a wavy emerald green line round the magenta and then edged that with midnight blue. The Stella was a little blurred now, but it still looked impressive. I wondered about calling my magazine Stella. I thought about it, colouring until the midnight blue seeped right through the page and blotched the one underneath. I wanted my magazine to be grander than a comic, but I wanted to show it was mine. I thought some more doodling. I doodled faces and flowers, smiley suns and stars. Stars. I'd looked up Stella once in a book of girls' names. It was a Latin word, and it meant star. Sky, I whispered, smiling. I turned to a fresh piece of paper and printed the word in giant crimson capitals. I filled them in with little silver sparkly stars. Well, they were grey pencil, really, because I didn't have a special silver crayon. Then I got my felt tips and drew a whole galaxy of multicolored stars filling up the whole page. I sang star songs as I colored. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle star, star of my star, star bright, first little star I see tonight. Inside the darkness of my head, ideas sparkled like the Milky Way. I was having such a lovely time, I was annoyed when the others came trooping into the doorway. There she is. Did you get into trouble then, Baldy? Karen demanded. What was the Brigadier like? Did he get really cross? Nope, he was very nice, I said, grinning at Karen's disappointment. Well, you're still in trouble with Miss Hamer Cotton. She went looking for you when you didn't come back to art, said Karen triumphantly. She's furious with you, isn't she, Louise? I think we ought to boot Baldy out of the Emerald team altogether, said Louise, jogging me on purpose as she went past. See if I can, I said serenely, doing a golden rain of stars with my yellow ochre. Didn't you really get into trouble? Marzipan whispered. Hey, Stella, is that my pad? You don't mind, do you? Oh, you've used up rather a lot of paper, said Marzipan reproachfully. Yes, what's she been drawing? Said Karen, snatching. What's all this star rubbish? It's a design, Karen, I said, for a magazine cover. What magazine? My magazine, I said. I'm starting a magazine, a proper one for the whole of Evergreen. Who says? The Brigadier, that's who, I said. Why don't you pull the other one? It's got bells on, said Karen pathetically. You go and ask the Brigadier then, you'll see, I said, colouring away. But why are you doing this magazine? You're the one who keeps messing about and getting into trouble. You've lost heaps of team points. Why should you get to do a magazine? Karen demanded furiously. It's not fair. I remembered what the Brigadier had said to me. Life isn't fair, Karen, I chortled. You think you're so clever, said Karen. You make me sick. Your magazine's going to be a right mess, isn't it, Louise? Is my rough pad going to be your magazine? Asked Marzipan. Well, I expect I'll get some proper paper later on. But can I go on borrowing your pad meanwhile? I suppose so, said Marzipan, sighing. I'll let you do a special bit in my magazine. What do you fancy doing? A poem? A story? I can't make them up like you, said Marzipan, lying on her bed and reaching for her book. I don't like writing stories. I just like reading them. Here, is your magazine going to have book reviews? I could write about Little Women. It's my favourite book. Okay, I said. I thought book reviews sounded a bit dull, but it was her rough pad after all. Are you going to have a fashion page? Asked Jamie. Oh, go on, please, Stella. I could do all drawings of new fashions. I'm quite good at that. Can I? All right, but you'll have to do them really carefully. Here, Baldy. Are you going to have hairdressing hints? Karen called. I can just see it. Baldy's beauty column. You two can have hair as long and luxuriant as mine if you use